Hello, I'm Ellis from Cherryleaf. I'd like you to imagine a scene. It's the front page of the Financial Times and the Wall Street Journal. It's the chyron at the bottom of the screen on the financial news programs on television. It's two CEOs shaking hands like they've won the lottery. It's the corporate version of a royal wedding. It's a merger and acquisition. But here's the thing about those images. They rarely show you what happens the next day. And research has shown that the success of those is rarely about that agreement on day one, but the days afterwards. And it usually hinges on things that people often don't want to talk about. The boring stuff, the very unsexy stuff. Because deals are signed in the boardroom, but a merger and acquisition succeeds or dies in the operational weeds. We're talking about the implementation of a merger, and that's what I want to cover in this video. Let's look at the identity crisis in mergers. Mergers trigger a form of organisational identity crisis. Employees who once worked for Company A now find themselves part of Company AB. Or they discovered that they've been absorbed entirely into Company B's culture and systems. And the shift goes beyond new letterhead and email signatures. It goes to something much deeper: how people understand their role, their value, and their place in the organisation. And when policies and procedures clash, employees face daily reminders that their professional identity is in flux. Company A's established way of approving expenses conflicts with Company B's more streamlined processes. Employees aren't quite sure whose rules to follow. They don't know which standard applies. They can't tell what good work even looks like anymore. Another problem is when senior staff don't know how things work. We were involved with one project where 9 government bodies were merged into one new agency. The senior leaders were trying to fix the problem of managing parts of the business they didn't actually understand operationally. A CFO who oversaw financial operations at Body A was now responsible for the new body's financial function as well. But the new body had edge cases that the Body A, where he worked originally, had never needed to address before. And that situation isn't unique just to that organisation. Another factor which is often addressed is the critical importance of having accurate financial information. During an integration, one thing you can't let slip is accurate, timely financial information. But what about the procedures that create that content? When two companies merge, financial visibility often deteriorates before it improves. Different accounting systems must be reconciled. The result can be a fog that obscures the true financial position of the combined entity. Financial procedures deserve special attention during integration. Policies around expenditure approval, purchase orders, invoice processing, and payment authorization directly affect cash flow. If these procedures break down or conflict, mistakes happen. That can be duplicate payments, discounts are missed, suppliers aren't paid on time, damage to critical relationships. Another factor is understanding and managing integrated risk. Now, this will partly have been covered by due diligence by the legal team in checking all the contracts and obligations that the companies have. Alongside the legal risks, senior leaders must actively work to understand all the other risks the merged organisation might face. The challenge is that risk knowledge often sits deep in the organisation, with the compliance manager who understands data protection requirements, with the operations director who knows which supplier is actually a single point of failure. This knowledge needs to surface quickly after a merger. And policies and procedures are fundamental to risk management. They're how organisations ensure consistent behaviour and maintain control. When these procedures are unclear, contradictory, or unknown during integration, risk management falls apart. People make decisions without proper authority. Controls are bypassed. No one quite knows who's responsible for what. So let's look at building the integration blueprint. An effective merger and acquisition integration blueprint must address policies and procedures with the same rigour applied to financial and legal matters. This requires a systematic, staged approach that brings order to what otherwise can feel like chaos. Step 1. Create a record of existing policies and procedures on both sides, the two companies. Before any integration decisions can be made, you need to know what you're working with. That sounds obvious, yet many organisations rush into merging without fully understanding what policies and procedures exist across both entities. Many organisations discover during this inventory process that they have more procedures than they realised, or that documented procedures don't match actual practice, or that critical processes have no formal documentation at all. Creating a comprehensive inventory is foundational work. It provides visibility into the operational landscape and prevents critical procedures from being accidentally overlooked or dismantled. The inventory can be a spreadsheet. You can develop apps to track and manage the different documents. It should capture every significant policy and procedure across both organisations. And go beyond collecting manuals. It requires understanding the informal practices, workarounds, and tribal knowledge that actually govern how work gets done. Step 2 is creating cross-functional integration teams and developing a clear framework for decision-making. Once you have a comprehensive inventory, you need the right people and the right approach to make integration decisions. Cross-functional integration teams bring together the expertise and perspective necessary for sound judgment about the policies and procedures. Develop a clear framework for decision-making about which policies to retain. Carry out an inventory, and there are typically 4 options. Adopt. Choose one organisation's policy and implement it across the combined entity. This works when one approach is clearly superior or when standardisation is essential. Or harmonise. Blend the best elements from both policies into a new unified approach. This works when both organisations have valuable practices worth preserving. Or retire. Discontinue a policy that's no longer necessary or relevant. Or keep as parallel processes. That is, maintain different approaches in different parts of the business. And this works where legitimate regional, functional, or business unit differences justify having a variation. Step 3 is assess the consequences of changing a policy. Before implementing any change, assess its consequences systematically. Changes to policies and procedures create ripple effects throughout the organisation. Understanding these effects before you act prevents unintended damage. For each proposed change, consider multiple dimensions of impact. What systems or tools will need modification? What training will employees require? How will customers be affected? What compliance or regulatory implications exist? What's the financial cost of implementation? And consider the human consequences. Step 4 is prioritise the work and make the changes. Not all policies and procedures need immediate attention. Some can wait. Some need urgent harmonisation. Others might be left separate indefinitely. Prioritization ensures you focus effort where it matters most. Step 5 is communicate the change and provide training. Even the best policy changes fail without effective communication and training. People need to understand what's changing, why it's changing, and how to work with the new approach. So that means publishing updated policies and procedures in an accessible location and format. Everyone should know where to find current policies. You need to make them searchable and easy to navigate. And you need to have policies and procedures that are clear to understand and are actionable, that people can follow them. And the last step, step 6, is measure, review, and iterate. Integration isn't finished when new policies and procedures are published. Effective integration requires ongoing measurement, review, and iteration to ensure changes deliver the intended benefits. You need to define clear success metrics for major policy changes. If you've harmonized procurement procedures to reduce costs, measure the actual cost savings. If you standardize customer service procedures to improve satisfaction, measure satisfaction scores. Metrics keep teams honest about whether changes are actually working or not. You're learning how the combined organization actually functions as you learn, adapt, and document your lessons learnt systematically. What worked well in integrating procurement procedures? What went wrong with IT security harmonization? These lessons inform later integration efforts and help other teams avoid repeating mistakes. And remember, real integration takes years, not months. Resist the urge to declare victory after 90 days. Some policies need time to bed in before their true impact becomes clear. Patient, sustained attention yields better results than rushing to completion. And ShareLeaf can help. Our expert policies and procedures writers help organisations create customised documentation that provides staff with a reliable framework to follow. And this reduces ambiguity about responsibilities and expectations, and it leads to more confidence and control over day-to-day operations. It frees up your time, where we focus on writing the content. With clearly written policies and procedures as a guide, employees gain the freedom to carry out tasks efficiently.